Hey guys, Emmanuel here, and LeBron is to blame for the Lakers' failure and missing the playoffs this year. So the Lakers have officially been eliminated from the playoffs, and in my opinion, I think LeBron is the one to be blamed for this whole fiasco, for this failure of a season. And why, you may ask? Well, for a second, let's imagine that the Lakers did make the playoffs and they won the championship. Who would get the credit and who would get the praise if the Lakers won the championship? That's right, LeBron. And in my opinion, if LeBron is going to get the credit and if LeBron is going to get the praise for winning a championship, then on the opposite end of that spectrum, LeBron should also get the blame for missing the playoffs. And he has to take that blame instead of trying to place it on other players. And I've heard every single take. I've heard so many people put their spin on it. I've heard so many takes from all over the place, from each side, from people saying that LeBron is the one to blame, to others saying that LeBron can't be the one to blame because he didn't have a fully healthy roster and Anthony Davis, his second in command, the second best player, was injured. And they also bring up the fact that LeBron shouldn't take the blame because LeBron averaged 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists this year. And I completely understand our argument, but at the same time, like I said, LeBron has to take the blame here, because if the Lakers were to win a championship, regardless of whatever LeBron averaged in that championship run, he would still get the credit. I kind of have to evaluate LeBron kind of like how NFL players are evaluated, right? Let's take Green Bay Packers for a second. When the Green Bay Packers win, Aaron Rodgers takes the credit. When the Green Bay Packers lose, Aaron Rodgers has to take the blame. Let's take the last playoff game that the Packers played. Aaron Rodgers didn't completely stink it up, right? And it wasn't his fault that the Packers lost. It was mainly the special teams, but guess who took the blame? It was still Aaron Rodgers. The captain has to go down with the ship, and that's the same with LeBron. Yeah, I'm sorry. The captain always has to go down with the ship, and that's exactly the same with LeBron. And furthermore, I think LeBron is to be blamed for having the players around him that suck so much that forced him to average all these empty stats. Why? Because he's the one that made that team. And people are going to say, oh, LeBron is not the GM, Rob Pelinka's the GM, but let's be honest with ourselves. Nobody gets on the Lakers roster unless LeBron approves of it. Nobody goes off the roster unless LeBron approves of it. It's just the perk that comes with being the best player for the last 15 or so years. He has that cachet, he has that pull, he has that leverage, and he exercised it when he deliberately wanted to go get Russell Westbrook on the Lakers. Now, I know for a fact the Lakers front office didn't want Westbrook on the Lakers. Why? Because just of his contract. Forget Russell Westbrook, the player. Look at Russell's contract. No sane team would want that on their roster. But because they had LeBron on there and LeBron kind of vetoed Rob Pelinka's decision, Russell Westbrook ended up on the Lakers. And when it comes to Russell Westbrook, LeBron made the wrong call last summer. Why? Because he knew what Russell Westbrook was. Everybody knew what Russell Westbrook was. In the last 4 years, Russell Westbrook has been on 4 different teams. He's a journeyman. Russell Westbrook was not a good fit for LeBron, right? In fact, LeBron and the Lakers knew how bad Westbrook was when last year, the way that they guarded Russell was they would just back off of him and let him shoot, because they were betting that he would not be able to make difficult shots. He wasn't that skilled, right? If that's the way that you're guarding a player, it's telling you 2 things. 1, that player is complete trash. 2, that player is complete trash. So for LeBron to still want him on the team made no sense. He is not compatible with LeBron's game. And it made no sense, especially when you consider the fact that there were other players on the market. DeMar DeRozan, for example, who just had an MVP caliber season this year. He vehemently and explicitly expressed that he wanted to go to the Lakers. He wanted to come home. And LeBron vetoed that. And people might say, oh, well, there was no way LeBron could have known that DeMar was going to turn out to be like this, right? DeMar was never like this in San Antonio. In fact, it looked like his career was going downwards. Okay, I'll give you that. But what about Buddy Hield? Buddy Hield was supposed to go to the Lakers, and Buddy Hield's game would have fit perfectly with the Lakers. Buddy Hield can actually shoot. Buddy Hield can actually give you points and actually defend, right? He's the polar opposite of what Russell Westbrook is. He is exactly what LeBron needs. And I think Buddy Hield, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, that trio would have been really good for the Lakers. With Malik Monk coming off the bench, the Lakers would have made the playoffs this year. But again, LeBron and Clutch Sports came in, swooped in, vetoed the front office's decision, and they wanted Russell Westbrook on their team, right? And Clutch Sports and LeBron tried to pull the same thing again around the trade deadline when they wanted John Wall to be traded to the Lakers because John Wall is represented by Clutch Sports. Until finally the Lakers front office said, enough. No, you're not going to get it your way. You're not going to get everything that you want. We're not trading for John Wall. And I think that exemplifies the mistake that LeBron and his team have made, and exactly why this Lakers team has been atrocious, right? And I'm going to reiterate again, LeBron deserves the blame, because if the Lakers were to win a championship and LeBron was averaging like 22 points, 5 boards, and 5 assists, LeBron would still get the credit. So if that's the case, LeBron has to take the blame. And that's just my reasoning for it. And LeBron's looked really bad this year in a public limelight when it comes to taking accountability for why the Lakers suck. It seems like he's just taking it nonchalantly. It seems like it's not bothering him. Like, for example, April Fools, LeBron tweets out, "Oh, I'm done for the rest of the season." Like, yeah, it turned out to not be a joke. And then at the beginning of the season, LeBron was like mocking people. He's like, "Oh, keep making fun of our squad and how old we are." Well, guess what? You guys are really old and you didn't make the playoffs. So because of all these things, when you accumulate it together, LeBron has to take the blame for this. LeBron has to take the blame for this. I think it's just what the greats do. He has to take the blame for the Lakers' just atrocious, terrible season. And he has to take the blame for the worst trade ever made in NBA history, that Russell Westbrook trade. A guy who's a glorified journeyman, a guy whose contract is just one of the worst in the league, and they still wanted him on a team. LeBron, you have to man up and you have to take that to the chin. Again, those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think, so leave your comments down in the comments below. Tell me what you guys think. Should LeBron take the blame or not? And again, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and see you next time, kids.